You are live.
We are live.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Trying this again today. This should be fun. This time we have our phone so we can see who's talking to us.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Let's see if it'll show us while we wait for our friends to join. Oh, yeah, there we go. I can see something.
You're seeing more than me right now. I'm still refreshing page to see if it'll pop up.
It'll come up.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
I know, that's kind of funny. Okay.
You've got 3 people.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie's watching. Did you figure out something for Kindle?
Oh, good. See, I can't see that. You can see that.
I clicked on the little eye on whatever the.
Okay, I'm probably gonna mess this up if I touch too much. I'll watch it for the comments. There we go. Yes, we are live. Hi, everyone.
We at least know that 10 people survived today.
Yes. 10 people are surviving homeschool.
10 people are still alive and well.
Yes. So, hi, everyone. My name is Delise, and I want to thank you all for joining the Surviving Homeschool family. We are, almost 1,700 strong now, D.
I stopped looking at the numbers.
I have to look at it because I try to think at every 100. So I keep watching it, but then, of course, people keep inviting and I miss it. So then I keep missing folks. But charge it to our heads and not our hearts. Or charge it to Facebook and not our hearts.
That's true.
Because that is certainly not our intention. But hi, everyone. We're so excited to come live today to talk about day 1. We got Dee with me again.
I'm back.
Dee is the co-partner in the Surviving Homeschool project, with me. Like I said yesterday, I called her when I started thinking about it. Actually, I was thinking about it and you texted me like, Delise, this is a great time to start talking about your homeschool stuff. And I was like, that's so funny because I'm actually thinking about that. And so we got this thing started and
make it happen.
Make it happen in some way, shape, or form. And so we're excited. Let's talk about day 1.
Yeah, let's talk about day 1. I see. I was talking. Stephanie actually made a comment earlier. She was looking for something if her county had actually sent something. So I see that she's commenting that she did receive things from the teachers. So that's good that people started receiving information from teachers today. As I know a couple of days ago, a lot of people were going off of nothing and thinking they had to rely on their own schedules and their own knowledge and their own resources. So it's good that teachers and counties have started to roll out some new things. I actually am one of those that actually received something today.
Yay!
Yay! It's actually scary for a moment because I kept trying to formulate the schedule, but I was like, I don't want to make it too down in ink or too concrete, so that when I get the info from the school system, that I'd be starting all over again. So initially, what I got a notification was that the school system was doing lessons that would be broadcast via FiOS or Comcast on this channel and that channel. And I got so excited. Then I was like, oh, I got rid of cable.
That could be very helpful.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, I got rid of that bill. So I was like, okay, what's the next thing? So before I got an email from the county, I actually went to their website and learned that they had actually posted lessons for each grade in multiple disciplines. So they had math there, they had science there, they had social studies and language arts. So those lessons were already there. And then I was like, okay, so now I can move forward with trying to make my schedule a little more drilled down.
Yeah.
And actually, I brought it. You want to see? This is what our schedule was supposed to look like. Can you see that for Monday?
I love that you put it in dry erase marker because that's what you have to do.
So I can just erase Monday and go for Tuesday tomorrow.
Absolutely. Or if it becomes like me, where my day one started at 2:00.
What do you say?
I saw it becomes day one for me that it ended up starting at 2:00.
Yeah. So, but as it change, this is something I can change every day.
Yeah.
And see what happens. But that's what our schedule looked like. So breakfast was pretty much on time at 9:30. And our little advisory meeting, as I wanted to call it. Um, what changed from that, I wanted to be all of us, but Dad was gone by 7 a.m. So Dad missed that. So it wasn't a whole family meeting. And then we talked about expectations of the day. I let the kids talk to me about things that they possibly wanted to do. And we actually did the schedule together on the dry erase board during breakfast or advisory.
Yeah.
So that went pretty well. And then we did we memorized a scripture together for the day, which is something that I wanted to insert into our day that we normally didn't have time to do. And then we went into math. So I set up, they each had a laptop. They were sitting at a round table and they loved it because I guess they felt like they were in a computer lab and they all had their headphones. So they weren't disturbing the next person and they were able to concentrate on whatever lesson was playing in front of them. And it allowed me to move around between them as opposed to me running from room to room.
Yeah. More says that she likes your term brain break.
I actually stole that from a lady yesterday that posted about brain breaks. I liked. I can't remember which group member that was, but I stole that. So, and it's funny because the kids were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do a brain break." In my head, I'm thinking Go Noodle or whatever it's called, like those little things.
Yeah.
So when I told them it was time for a break, they ran to YouTube and played like music videos to dance to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah. And it was funny because they ended up playing music from like the 90s before they were born.
But yes. Because that's what
whatever you guys need, whatever makes their brain relax for a few minutes, that's what we try to do.
Hey Mo. Hey Stephanie. Hey Angie. Hey our niece, Naomi. Hey y'all. Naomi says she loves the scripture time. How'd that go?
It went pretty well. We actually went moved from the dining room table and went and sat in the sunroom. And the oldest one, when I told him we were going to read scripture, he ran and grabbed his Bible. I was like, oh. So I kind of told him what scripture I wanted them to read, and he read it. Then we discussed what do we think that scripture meant. Mm-hmm. It was actually Matthew 5 or 7. And they started memorizing it. It was about those who are merciful shall receive mercy. And we talked about what do they think about that and how could we kind of implement that in our day-to-day lives. And so throughout the day, I was like, who remembers the scripture? And, because I remember as a kid, we kind of memorized scriptures. We learned them like that. And my kids really haven't had the opportunity to do that as much. So I'm trying to insert it in as much as possible when I can. So
I love that lesson because I think that one of the things we talked about yesterday for people was for them to, identify things that are priorities for them that maybe things they can supplement, so for you being able to add that in. For others, I saw exercising. I saw the Taekwondo videos, I just saw people being so creative in ways to get activities in and education in really creative ways. And so, I think that, it seems like a lot of people took that to heart. Hey, Tiffany. Dee, they're asking, did you go to Stanford too? Because you look familiar.
We may know each other from somewhere else.
But no, she didn't. But, what I'd love is for those who are watching, if you can tell us something that went great that went great today. So one of the things we were talking about, Dee, we had a little acronym for what we wanted to cover today, and we called it HOME. Couldn't believe that it worked out that way.
It worked out.
Right. But our first one was the H in HOME stands for humor. So, I thought that,
Mhm.
a lot of folks on the page were sharing just really humorous things that happened during the day. And when I saw that, I remembered how important it is that we take time to laugh and enjoy, this whole process, that we take
Mhm.
it lightly, even though, some of the things that, are going on in the obviously in our country, are really heavy, but I love just seeing the humor and the joy and the laughter that was happening, on the page today, and that was happening in families. I love the letter that the little young man or young lady wrote to her parent. The pictures of the kids with the thing on their face, the alcohol glasses, all those different ways that folks were trying to laugh through the pain, in some situations. And so I thought folks are really finding great ways to be humorous, find humor in this. Oh, Dee, did you freeze up? Let's see. You froze up. There she goes.
I'm back.
I know you can hear me, but
Yeah, yeah.
um, hey Tiffany.
So you
Hey,
just did I miss anything after the humor?
no, that's all I was talking about. So
Yeah.
I was just talking about, the different ways that folks found humor. Shalinda, Tiffany, Tanisha, yay, Gina, Mika, Fallon, Anastasia, Stacy. Good to see everybody. So
Yeah,
yeah, we're talking about,
finding humor
that humor
is
part.
important. Yeah, finding humor is definitely important. Um, I mentioned earlier how going into something that you know at the most comfortable situation, or you just say, "Oh, we'll be able to laugh about this later." So years down the road, when your kids are talking about those weeks that mom had to homeschool or dad had to homeschool and they couldn't go and play with their friends, we'll all be laughing about this later. So we might as well start enjoying it and having some humor as we go through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The karate chop got, I think, the most likes
Oh,
yesterday.
I can relate to that.
Absolutely. Um, so I'm seeing, Naomi say that one of the major reasons why she chose to homeschool was even before they had their child, was the ability to teach them about what's important, like their relationship with the Lord, etc. Being able to bring those components in. Angie said that her boys also did devotional. Um, because her Zoom meeting started at the same time. So she allowed them to do that, and she was really proud of them. Shalinda said that she sent her daughter to her grandmother, or to Gigi, to her Gigi. I'm guessing that's a grandma who's homeschooling siblings. Okay, so that can't be right. Sent her to her Gigi, and when she returned home, they went outdoors and then cooked dinner together, and it was a great day. So it sounds like these are some great things that happened for folks today. Um, Are you able to put these up? Are these showing up? They're
For
not.
some reason, they're not like the ones that are allowing me to show on stream are the very first comments. Like yesterday, I was able to
Yeah, we were seeing them immediately.
put them
Well,
all
let's
up
read
there.
them. So Maura says she's been homeschooling for years and never did a schedule, but she tried it and loved it. She put the schedule on the fridge. Everyone knew what was expected of them when. She said she did get off schedule, but it was still very helpful. So everyone's sharing these great stories. Oh, Shalinda says the 2-year-old is the challenge. Of course, we can all relate to that.
Yes, definitely. Like the 3-year-old was the challenge in my house today.
Hey, Leah. Um, so Naomi is going back to the conversation about humor. Um, and so she was saying that teachers really don't even have enough time to engage in humor. And that, that she's really enjoyed being able to bring that to her homeschool. That, you have a lot of teachers, who they just have a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of desire. And, a lot of times they can be hampered by some of the restrictions around testing or whatever. So, it's great to be able to bring that component as in this family time.
Definitely, definitely. You gotta have fun with it.
Yes.
It makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's one of the tough things is in having that humor as you go throughout.
So now let's share, those who are watching, share a challenge that you had today. Because what is our O? Our
Mm,
OD.
overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. We saw a lot of people say that today.
Definitely overwhelmed. Some people I think were overwhelmed for different reasons. Some people were overwhelmed maybe because they didn't have enough resources, and then others probably were overloaded with resources and didn't know what to do with what was presented in front of them. So um, it was an interesting day, reading some of the comments that people were having and some of the things that they were experiencing with their kids, not just going through academically, but trying to enforce academic time. Probably put out some disciplinary issues, which probably also overwhelmed parents. So
Absolutely.
definitely some overwhelming episodes kind of happened throughout the day.
And then trying to balance, right? No one, and I would say this, I don't want to use hyperbole, but seldom do people have to balance a full day of work at the same time as a full day of school. You
Not
know
at
what I
all.
mean? Like that no one has to do that. Even families that work from home, their children have, they've taken the kids are in school, or they have a nanny. They've taken all these different ways to provide support and someone to watch that child. And so families are being thrust into really difficult situations that really no one purposefully puts themselves in.
Right.
So that feeling of overwhelm is really what started this for me, because all I was seeing was my friends on Facebook talking about how overwhelmed they were at the prospect of having to do both at the same time.
Right.
And someone said to me, like, that's unfair. And they didn't believe it was actually happening. I was like, it is unfair and it is happening, thinking that there are families where parents are being expected to work full time and and the school has an expectation to educate the child in significant ways.
Right.
And she didn't just couldn't fathom that was actually happening, because how could they believe someone could do that? And I'm thinking, exactly. And that's why we created Surviving Homeschool, because it's a difficult place to be, especially when you don't have the resources. I saw one of my homeschool moms say today that we spend summers, like we spend months, sometimes years preparing to have to to homeschool. And so being told, in your case, Dee, you're going to get stuff on Monday and you're going to start on Monday, like that's not, it is unfair, And so I totally felt, just really deeply when people were talking about that. And so that's why when people say, I feel like I fail, I had to jump on those posts, right? Because failure, like it literally, you can't, like, it's, you can't, I hate when folks feel like they failed because they're being put in these really difficult situations.
It's something that's out of your control.
It's out of your
It's out of
control,
your control.
right?
My middle son, the 8 year old, said to me today when I said, we're going to do these lessons. He said, well, are you trained to be a teacher? He's like, my teacher went to school to be a teacher.
Yeah.
How are you going to teach me, mom? And
Yeah.
so, that kind of adds fuel to the fire where
Yeah.
I already know I'm unprepared to execute whatever your teacher would normally do. But for an 8 year old to say, hey, wait, you aren't qualified
You aren't qualified.
to do
Yeah.
this, it really hits home. So we do have some people sharing about what their challenges were today. Naomi said her challenge was moving the schedule around because she had to make it to the store in time to beat the rush.
Yes.
Yeah, and lines were big. Yeah, definitely. And I also learned today that Instacart is not my friend anymore because you can't really get anything until Friday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
they're
no.
over.
Not
They
helpful.
are also overwhelmed.
They're overwhelmed. Yeah.
Angie says her internet went out. There was an outage in the area.
Oh my God.
So nothing got done today but a few chores. Well, you did those life skills today. Something did get done.
Yeah.
Today was not all of a waste.
Let's see. Hey Wendy. Hey Laura. Hey Mindy. Hey Stephanie. So yeah, Mindy says I didn't even get the work till later. I apparently have never been on the teacher's email and she worked all day.
Oh
That's like
my
that's what
goodness.
happened with you, right? I mean, she didn't even get the information till today.
Yeah. And the thing is, so and then I didn't get the information till it was probably after 8. So if you had already started doing stuff, say if I were working from home and I had started getting to conference calls, my priority today would have been work and whatever I had already slated for my kids because
Yeah,
I wouldn't have been checking my personal email to
right.
see what was sent from the school. So unfortunately, it does happen that way sometimes. Unfortunately, oh, meal prep. Yep, meal prep is hard, Leah.
Yeah,
Um,
meal prep. Maybe we should do something on the page. Put up some meal prep. You know, maybe a meal
some
prep thread.
suggestions or have a
Yeah,
thread. I had
yeah.
a stern talking during advisory this morning. I had a stern talking with my kids about food and
I
how,
had to be stern though.
because they want to sit at the counter like I'm a short order cook and
Yes,
place orders and things. And I had to explain to them that, right now we are all about being thrifty with food and not wasting food. So although mom might prepare something that is not your very favorite,
yes,
let's be appreciative for what we have. And maybe the next meal will be something that you really, really like. But the
yes.
number one goal right now is to get you fed, keep you healthy with the things that your body needs. So
Absolutely.
that was like a talk that we had to have this morning because I'm like, look, you're not going to eat all of your favorite thing right now.
Yes. And
So
we knew that that pizza in school wasn't, when we were waiting around, we had the pizza or you had those, hard nuggets. So, like you never got your favorite meal every time.
mhm, you're getting hot meals and you're being picky. Come on now.
Right? That part. Hey,
I mean, you're getting a
Irene.
meal.
Hey, Keisha. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Martha. Um, let's see. I see Laura. Hey,
What is
Laura.
Laura talking about? Teach.
Yes. So she was talking about her overwhelmed feeling coming from having to work in her building, then come home and manage the household, parent, and school the children. The oldest of which is like the size and attitude of a grown
I
man.
need an updated refrigerator picture.
Yes. And then she says tomorrow she won't have to go in, but she still has to be available virtually and for her employer and her own students from 9 to 1 and school the children. We feel you. We feel you. And that's the part we were talking about earlier, how this is, unreal can be an unrealistic expectations put on for someone to do both and to be flexible. I mean, I think that we'll talk probably a lot more in detail, but school doesn't have to happen from 9 to 1. School can happen from 2 to 4, depending obviously on the situation. If teachers have certain times you want to get online or,
Mhm.
those types of things. But if it's possible, figuring out ways to invert the schedule, do things in the evening. I'm not sure if people could hear, but my son was doing piano just now at 8:50. And so, invert it so it, you have to make it work. Maybe it's pushing some stuff to the weekend if you have that kind of tight schedule, and then you set out just independent study, throughout the day. And so you do definitely, especially in that situation, Laura, have to get really creative.
Yeah, especially even with the most independent child, this is a new format that they're mostly learning from, new environment being at home. So even if your child up to this point was independent where you really didn't have to assist them, it's kind of unrealistic to think that you're not going to have to insert yourself a little bit with the
Yeah,
kids. So it makes it very difficult, especially parents working from home, because now working from home, people think that you are always available. Oh, you're at home. So, they have it's like you're available 24 hours. There
yeah,
are no office hours because your home is now your office and you're always there. So you're always available. So there's no people aren't recognizing that they need to turn off and give people time to do personal things while they're at home, which means
right.
also dealing with the children that are home schools are closed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Stephanie says one of her real challenge comes tomorrow when she starts that teleworking, and so she's going to have to utilize some of those things you just said too, Dee.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
think, finding activities that keep them occupied for the longest extension of time. For instance, the lessons that were on our county website, they probably ran 30 or 40 minutes. And that was like a good chunk of time to keep kids like organized, occupied. I don't see how you're going to keep a kid occupied for much more than that,
I
unless
agree.
it's a really independent child and you can just give them all their things for the day. But if you're using outside tools that you technically haven't put together yourself,
Yeah.
you're going to have to keep checking in on them and giving them, a little push, a little assistance to get through what the teachers and the counties are giving us right now.
Yeah, yeah. I did that post on to do before you're done. Things to do before you say I'm done. And so those are also some things probably people could obviously as you mentioned. I always say maybe you can get the hour. Like you said. I mean, before you
Mm-hmm.
have to come back and check in, particularly when they're multiples. But creating something where it's like I don't care if you watch Storybots. I used to let RJ watch Curious George back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Like they came on at one time on PBS and another time on the WIDA station or something, because I needed that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I I thought about that because our niece talks about having a 2-week-old at home trying to do this.
No,
Can you imagine?
no, I don't want to. Yeah.
Love, our niece, you have a 2-week-old. I hope that you are giving yourself grace through this whole thing, because you are healing. You're getting to know your new baby, and you said you just check yeah, you've just been able to check in with the kids during the day. Yes, she says she has a 15-year-old that has immersed himself into learning about the stock market and has a goal to finish his guided reading for AP. Excellent. That sounds independent. 12-year-old to work on the packet for an hour, then chores, taking it bit by bit right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
girl.
we
That
have
sounds
to.
awesome. That's what you have to do. Yeah. Um, Tiffany, I just saw this one. Tiffany, you said that you spent the day talking about how they feel about the pandemic and outlining the plan. She has one college student and one elementary who are both out of school. That sounds, yeah. I mean, those probably had to be some hard conversations too, too to have because you have a student. I just saw Howard's graduation was canceled. So you
Yeah,
have students who had some
it's good.
expectations of things to do. And so, yeah, I think, taking the time to get their feelings about that was great. So the other things I had on here to talk about regarding overwhelmed, I mentioned to have grace with yourself. The other one is I do something with my kids called the growth mindset strategy. And if you go on, you can Google it. You can go on Big Life Journal. There's several sites that have resources for it. But the thing about having a growth mindset, what one of my students would say is, I haven't made my schedule yet. So adding yet to the end of a sentence kind of gives yourself some space to be, for real life to happen. I haven't, been able to figure out food stuff yet. I haven't been able to figure out how to balance this telework thing and this homeschool thing yet, right? And obviously, it's first day, first week. I will tell you, quite honestly, I tell folks, when they're homeschooling, like, traditional homeschooling, like, give yourself 2 years. Your first year is going to be a hot mess, trying to figure it out. And so much less on the first day for a family that's been thrown into this. So, just remember that some of the stuff you just haven't done yet. That student who wrote that cute little letter to her, to her mama, I'm like, let's see what the student is saying at the end. They don't like it yet, but maybe at the end they'll be loving, the experience. And so, try to have a growth mindset and model that. I think it brings my anxiety down too when I use the growth mindset for myself.
We've got a lot of growing space. we do.
Yes.
Oh, so now they're actually popping up on the side where I can show some of these questions.
Oh, good.
Interesting.
Aaliyah says, God bless the woman with the 2-week-old. I know. Ayana says, bless your heart, a 2-week-old. Hey, Whitney. Cece. Hi, Cece. She says, oh my gosh, she's in Italy today. She has 2 school-age children and a busy toddler. She's been overwhelmed with all the lessons, the emails, the chats. It's just been so much. Now she has to work with one child at a time, and everything may not get done. I'll do what I can. That's the lesson, right, Dee?
Yeah. That kind of leads into the M that we came up with in home for managing your expectations. You kind of do what you can do. You set out to do A through Z, but say, you know what, if I can make it to M today, that'll be good. So kind of, you got, anything that you are successful with in something new that you're setting out to do, kind of reward yourself, pat yourself on the back that, hey, the kids may not have had showers today, but we did do our math. It's always try to see the positive in what you actually did accomplish. You kept them alive today. That is an accomplishment. Especially when you got several kids running around that you're not used to being with during the day because you have business to conduct. If you didn't chop anybody in the throat, that's an accomplishment.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're also, and I imagine in Italy, it's a whole different thing, right? They have a 16 million people on straight lockdown quarantine.
The whole country is shut down.
Right. And so trying to do everything you have to do when everything is shut down around you, I mean, that's an additional thing, to consider. So managing expectations that are perfect, idea of how this is going to work out, it never does. Literally, this is almost 10 years for us. And I learned this lesson from my veteran homeschoolers. The schedules almost never work out. It's almost always a framework. Mm-hmm. Something always happens. A kid's going to get sick. Internet is going to shut down, like in Angie's case. A teacher's going to send something late. And so those expectations, I love, the do what you can. Absolutely. So, hey, Peter, she says, my kids melted down on day 1. They believe there's no school and therefore it's vacation. They were having none of it. Lots of tears and screaming. The kids too.
No, she wasn't talking about the kids.
She wasn't talking about the kids. The screaming, lots of tears and screaming. That's mama.
Yeah.
And then and Michelle says
sometimes deserve a timeout too.
Say it again.
Parents sometimes deserve timeout.
Sometimes
when you're getting overwhelmed.
Maybe 2 times a day.
Well, what is timeout supposed to be? 1 minute per year of your age. You can get a good timeout.
I wholeheartedly believe in timeouts, in parent timeouts. I said something on one of those posts that mommy needs a moment. Yeah. I say that probably 3 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day. Because it's very hard being on all day. It's hard being on, beyond. It's hard when you are the primary educator, the primary, you're trying to work, you're getting all the questions, multiples, from everyone. It's really hard to be on. So I think, that it's mandatory to take a mommy timeout. And sometimes, if you don't, it does turn into screaming. It does turn into frustration. It does turn into exhaustion, which we'll get to. So take those mommy timeouts and don't feel guilty about them. I don't know about you, Dee. I used to feel super guilty about stepping away. Mm-hmm. Because in my mind I'm thinking, well, who else are they supposed to be talking to? And who else are they supposed to ask these questions to? But I still am a whole person who needs a break.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to feel guilty about that, but thanks to therapy, no longer.
Yeah, well, mentally you need a break, especially if you're in a situation that is feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling like, you've bitten out off more than you can chew, or there's pressure on you from the teacher, the school system, your kids, your spouse, work. And it's always better to just remove yourself, take a deep breath, woosah in the closet,
Yeah,
um, so that you can just bring yourself back down. Because what you don't want to do is portray what you're feeling to your kids. If you're feeling anxious, if you're up on a 100 mode, then they're going to start amping up, and then there'll be meltdown central. So
absolutely.
the best thing to do is when you feel yourself really getting spun up, to just remove yourself for a few minutes. Hide. It's okay for them to say "mommy, mommy, mommy" for a few minutes, looking around in the house for you, and not to find you right away. Pretend like you changed your name. I've done that.
Yeah. Hey, Martha. Martha says she often tells her kids that mommy needs a mental break. She
Mhm.
felt guilty with the first child, but now with three, there is no hesitation. Um, Miriam says I put up three fingers. Oops.
You did.
I'm tired. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, we're not gonna let you teach math today.
No, I shouldn't. Actually did not teach math today. I did not teach math today.
Good.
I did not get to it. Hey, Arlene. Hey, Willie. Yeah, daddy.
We got a daddy.
You got a daddy, a super daddy. I think Willie has like 6 kids. Like super daddy, super involved daddy. Um, so Miriam says her forever battle has been the fact that we are not morning people.
Mm.
No judgment zone, still a work in progress. We got a late start on the day, picked up steam mid-afternoon, finished math, practice music, Zoom session with piano the first time. And she talked about, yes, sis, the schedules are really a target, not
Yeah,
the end goal.
I'm still trying to find. There's so many comments.
So Cece, the family that's in Italy, she says the kids cannot go outside and play either. It's a
Yeah.
total lockdown. So
That's what I was thinking about. Cabin fever with kids is a bad
Mhm.
thing. They need to be able to run off some of that built up energy that they have.
Yeah,
I actually sent, I have recess on our schedule, and I actually went outside to see how weather was, and it was kind of cool out around lunchtime today. So I had actually told my kids to go in the basement and have their recess, whatever they wanted to do. And so, well, can we play Twister? Sure.
sounds perfect.
Work
Right. Don't strangle each other while you're trying to get to the yellow circle.
That's right. Play Twister, and you guys figure out who's doing what, and go over the colors with your younger brother while you're doing it. So,
Sophia says she has 2 tweens acting like toddlers with bigger vocabularies and pure attitude. Yeah, we were talking about that folks were having trouble with the tweens and
yeah,
teens more than what we thought.
most of the posts today were the teens or tweens acting out about not playing PlayStation and having a free day, feeling as though they're on vacation.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a little while to probably get them acclimated into this new lifestyle at home and schooling at home. But like I told my kids, if they were physically leaving school during this period, they wouldn't be playing Xbox and they wouldn't have their phones out. So let's pretend and have the same type of rules and expectations and as if you were actually leaving to go to school. So all that stuff stays on lockdown until we dismiss for the day. And it's up to you to get the things done that we need to get done so that we dismiss on time. Because unlike at school, our bell doesn't necessarily have to ring at 3. Our bell can ring at 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a hi April, a friend on here asking, she did fine with her second grader, but tips for the older high schoolers, 11th grade on up, and keeping them feeling isolated and frustrated. In that, I'd love to hear some other people's opinions on that are online. I think when I think about high school is agency. Ask them, like, what would you like to do that would make you feel less isolated and less
Mhm.
frustrated? Do you want to FaceTime with your friends? Do you
Mhm.
want to play those I mean, I don't know if they're playing Roblox and Minecraft and
Mhm.
those games as well. Like, do you want to get on those games where they're chatting and everything? Find out from them and then kind of negotiate realistic things. So you want to watch a movie while we used to do that, right? Watch a movie while you're talking to your friend. You know,
It's funny you just said that because I'm like, these kids have so many different modes of communicating with one another that they should never feel isolated. They have a way to get with the outside world and physically see each other. Like if this had happened while we were in high school, I mean, we didn't even have email.
right?
How we would just be talking on the phone, which would have got
Yeah,
boring.
yeah,
So I think they can find some creative ways where they could feel like they're actually being social with one another without physically being together. Like you said, whether it's FaceTime and while doing stuff. I mean, our kids play video games, and it's not like they can't. It's playing the game together isn't enough. They have to talk to each other,
right.
through the game while they're doing it, and record themselves playing the game. So I think they could probably do something similar. Talk to each other while they're doing the lesson and record each other. I think the teenagers can figure it out.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, I'm curious. So those who are watching, if you have any high schoolers, post some suggestions for Miss April. Hey, Christy. Hey, Ashley. Hi, Sean. Hey, Pat. So I see Miriam. She's got some suggestions for you too down there, April. Peter's asking about resources for kids with ADD or ADHD, and we have a thread going on the group with resources for ADHD. I know if you look in topics and you click ADHD slash, I think we might have put it as I think it's ADD, ADHD,
Special.
maybe special education resources. So check that.
I
Check
think
that,
so.
Peter. Or and if we don't see what you need there, just ask a question. We'll put it into the
Yeah,
group, and then people
tag
can
it.
people can answer it. So what else do we have? Our E,
The E,
exhaustion.
exhaustion. We're all going
So
to
we've got
experience it.
humor, overwhelm, manage expectations, and now exhaustion. Home.
All the things you don't think about when you think of home. When
Right.
I think of home, I think of the place
Okay.
where you don't think where you're going to be exhausted. Mhm.
But it is, right? I mean, it's exhausting. I'm exhausted. I'm putting up three fingers, but I'm supposed to be putting up two. So I will say from my homeschool, we're not used to being home. And so we're used to being out. So this is a big transition for us as well. Homeschooling is a misnomer, in most of the homeschools that I know, and so it's exhausting, trying to where you may usually go somewhere, go to a museum. You got drive time the same way folks in traditional school have to, walk down the hallway to get to XYZ, but we're now having to fill up the full time of the day in the house, and I have a kinesthetic learner, and it's certainly exhausting. And then I imagine doing that plus having to be fully on at work, plus you're mentioning cooking and also if folks have significant others, having to manage that, it is exhausting. And so how do we manage exhaustion in this? I have a post I was working on for today that I did not get to put up. The one about caring for yourself.
Yes. Yeah, you do have to. And I think that goes back to the timeouts. I think having a timeout will help you manage exhaustion, those mental breaks, um, just keeping yourself in check.
Yep, absolutely. Um, I sent Derica a post that I was working on about just don't forget about yourself, that you do have to find that time for yourself at some point in the day. That's different from a parent, Like, give me a moment. I'm talking about a time where you're actually sitting, you grab a book, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. You call a friend, like an actual time that's personal, something you enjoy doing, finding
Mhm.
that time that's for yourself, by yourself.
That's a challenge.
Even if it's 15 minutes.
I'm trying to think. Did I have 15 minutes by myself today? The mom with the 2 week old, will she get 15 minutes by herself?
The 2-week-old is an exception. She will absolutely not get she will not, unless some, significant other comes to grab that baby. But
So let me give you my take on how to manage exhaustion. So the way, let me say, I think the reason why I probably didn't spin out today, being overwhelmed, is because I actually successfully exhausted my kids. I think I overwhelmed them. In my schedule, the older two were supposed to do reading while the youngest, the 3 year old, had his nap. And they all comped out
yeah.
at reading time and ended up taking naps. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's asleep. So that's how I
There's
got,
the 15 minutes.
they didn't sleep for 15 minutes. I probably got 2 hours.
That's what I'm saying. See, you got 2
That's
hours.
how you get your 15 minutes.
That's how you get it.
That's how you get it. Exhaust the kids, make sure that they're burning off mental energy, physical energy, and then they'll get quiet. They may not take naps,
Yeah.
but they'll want time. They'll want time. Those teenagers are going to want time alone, to be because they're tired. And then that's how you'll get that time by yourself to do whatever it is you enjoy, whether it's, watching something on Netflix, or, playing with your sewing machine, picking up a hobby you haven't been able to do in a while, that sort of thing. I think that really worked out for me. And I didn't stress out about it because not in the schedule. I mean, because I was like, wait, you guys weren't supposed to go to sleep. We still have science to do. But that's
Yeah.
why you have to be fluid with the schedules and kind of take things as it goes. And then don't feel like you failed because you didn't get to the science lesson today.
Yeah.
Because you have plenty of time to, make up for. There'll be other days where they'll fly through a lesson and you'll need to have some filler time for something else.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's how it ends up on our schedule. I schedule in my downtime by making them all preoccupied,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a TV time for my 7-year-old. My son does a math class and a Chinese class in the middle of the day, and so that's when I have them like, okay, I know they're going to be preoccupied during that time, and so you know, find that preoccupied time. I think is key, just like you said.
So there are some comments regarding downtime. Um,
Hey, Ayana. She said her baby fell asleep during the brain break.
okay, his brain is tired. His whole body needed a break. Poor baby. What did you do to him? But yes, those afternoon naps are a blessing.
Yes. Hey, Doreen. Um.
So one person is saying that they had their high schoolers spend their downtime searching for scholarships.
Oh. Yeah.
That's a good suggestion for the older kids.
Yes. I didn't even see that one. Like you said, it's so many in here. Okay. Um. Let's see. So Naomi says that what I've shared as advice to older students, because she works with 9th through 12th graders, is, hey, this is the real world. You're now experienced with what it was actually like for us back in the day. We
Yes.
didn't have all these technologies to keep us entertained. So just embrace this me time to start employing other joys of life. Um, it's really something none of us can change, but what we can do is adjust. Right. So when you have those older kids, it's time for them to understand this is real life and you have to make,
Mm-hmm.
be an agent in your own joy and happiness and, in your own desires. So let's see. So we had,
Oh, Delise,
yes,
you know what you should do during that downtime, that 15 minutes?
what's that?
Eat.
Oh, we didn't talk about
Us
that.
parents need to eat.
So that's true. So D is talking about that I did not eat well much yesterday or today because I was super distracted. And so I'd asked her to send me text messages reminding me to eat. And can anyone relate to being, sitting, working all day, on some project and not getting up from the desk to eat, right? And so, yes, that's part of that, focusing on yourself and making sure that
Mm-hmm.
you get
You gotta
certain
take
things
care of
done for
yourself.
yourself.
We all have to stay healthy through all of this. So just like we want the kids to be well nourished, we're
Yes.
taking on extra stressors, so our
Yeah.
body's gonna need more than normal. But yeah, I fell into it today. You know, after reminding you yesterday and talking to you about not eating, I got so busy that I think I texted you that I made a cup of tea because I was just drinking tea for breakfast. Made the cup of tea, started doing stuff with the kids, and looked. It was 12:30, and the tea was still at the Keurig, and I hadn't
Yeah.
touched it. So I totally forgot to even drink tea. So food was
Yeah.
definitely something far from my mind. But we have to remind ourselves to kind of make room for us to take care of ourselves, and part of that is nutrition.
Absolutely. Yeah. My son asked me today, Mom, why do you leave cups of water on the coffee maker? I don't know if he thought I was doing it on purpose, but right. I was like, yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
doing that on purpose. I don't
mhm.
purposely leave cups of water, but I do. You get distracted and
Yeah, you do.
yeah, absolutely. Hey, Yana. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Sharon.
Leah must be saying that she does that too. Just forgets to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, are there any questions anyone has about their day one? I thought we talked about the ADHD. We talked about the high schoolers. Are there any other questions folks have about how their day one went and kind of how we can help? Hey, Yana. So Anika says her boss has allowed 4 kids over to let the high schoolers do school together. And even though she's an infectious disease like Anika is, she said, but she recommends virtual for the middle and high schoolers using FaceTime, etc.
Definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, no, no. We love our friends, but we'll love you even more after we all get through this healthy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
we're
hard
gonna.
though. I had my 7-year-old had a play date today with her friend over FaceTime. I just, I texted her mom and was like, "Can y'all chat? Can the girls chat on FaceTime?" And she was like, "Mama, can I close my door?" And I don't know what they were talking about. They were in there giggling and laughing and
Mhm.
doing what we used to do, on the phone growing up. And that was her play date. And she was, had a different attitude, for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So, I think it's great to just find time, but in this case, virtual time, like you were saying,
Yeah.
Anita.
I was actually hoping that some of the tools that the school has on their platform would allow the classmates to interact with one another, because apparently they do a lot of collaborative work together in these apps anyway. You know, I had the 8-year-old showed me a video that he and his classmate did together where their voices were both recorded, and they
Mm,
each had made their own characters and that sort of thing. And I was like, well, is that something they can do now that they both have access to this platform, but from two different places? So I'd be interested. I'll play with it a little bit more and see if there should be something similar to like a FaceTime that these school systems have on their online or e-learning systems that will allow these classmates to still connect with each other. Because we don't expect 8-year-olds to uh, be exchanging numbers and
Yeah.
email addresses or whatever. But they have that school platform in common, so it'd be good to see if they actually roll something out that would allow these classmates to stay connected during this period.
Yeah. Especially if this gets extended, the
Yeah.
way they're talking about it. So so Leah's asking us what's the H in home. So home is humor, overwhelmed. So we're talking about day one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Finding the humor is the H. The O is overwhelmed. And we were talking about kind of giving yourself grace when we talk about being overwhelmed and failure, having the growth mindset and remembering that there's always tomorrow. For the M was managing expectations, that it's the first day, especially when you're expected to do all of this stuff that none of us have ever been asked to do, to educate and work and cook and, house and family all at the same time. And then E is exhaustion.
So is that as a user saying Zoom is what is that Loudoun County
Loudoun County.
is
Mm-hmm.
using Zoom?
Yeah.
I may have to send some emails because it'd be good if they would do that for our county as well.
My computer's going to die. See, I've been on this computer all day today.
Because you haven't fed your computer and you haven't fed your
I
phone.
haven't fed my computer, so I'm going to make a quick adjustment so that I can plug my computer up. There we go.
Someone's saying that today was tough. They made a schedule, but they ended up being all over the place
Yeah.
and had to work.
Yeah.
3-hour conference call.
Yes.
For a better day tomorrow.
Grace for yourself, right? 3 hours of trying to figure out how to. And Ayana has younger, children. And so, not in that high school age that can handle 3 hours of, being on their own. And so totally understandable. And the things that I would, some of the suggestions, I put that to do before you're done list, just things they can do independently, and then being able to use the siblings. So I do know she has a somewhat older, that can go to check in on that younger. And so she's probably gonna have to use those siblings with that 3-hour call.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. And then the other thing, go ahead, sis.
I was gonna say, you remember the young woman that posted those range of activities on Post-it notes?
Yes.
That the child could do. So having something similar to that might be good in that instance where the kid can pick a task from the Post-it note, something that they could do themselves. When they finish that, can go and get another one. Just because that will actually be things that they're interested in that they could possibly do on their own without having that much supervision. Of course, being on a conference call, a parent could possibly peep in on them, but most kids, if you say, you can spend 20 minutes doing such and such learning app, and if it's like on the iPad, they'll run to do that. They know how to do their own codes and that sort of thing. So things like that might actually help in that instance. But 3 hours is just a long.
Absolutely. I mean, at some point, you're just like, look, go watch all your favorite shows.
Yeah, you have to do that. Whatever.
Go Netflix and chill at some point, because that's like that's realistically what folks, may have to do when you have that level of, time. If this, and then bringing that school stuff back in later on. Yes. So there were two things on here I wanted you to mention, Dee. One of them is, hey, Joanna. I said Joanna. Joanne, girl. What's up, Joe? Ayana talks about remembering she's not a single parent and she has a whole husband that can help.
Yeah, many of us do have whole husbands.
I think it's very important that when that schedule goes down, that the whole husband or the whole significant other, the whole partner finds their place in that schedule. Because you it, especially in this situation, it cannot fall on one parent.
Especially if mom's working full time
Yeah,
just from home, just like dad is
just like
working.
that. Yes,
Right.
it is not fair.
Definitely have to share the wealth
Yes,
and
yeah.
help with all those responsibilities, because it'd be taxing on just one person to do alone.
D is asking, but can they really help? I think so. Let me tell you some of the
Totally.
things. Some of the
Did you
things that
see dad doing the science experiments with his son on? Yeah, totally.
yes. I mean I do. So my husband does the them 30 minutes of reading or 20 minutes of reading that the kids need to sit down. He does that. He can sit there and watch, listen to them read. To your point about science, can do the science experiments, can do the writing, so you can review an essay just as easily.
Hmm.
He
He
can,
can do PE, go
he can
outside and shoot
do
hoops with them.
right?
Easy.
Absolutely. So I think definitely there are places, where they can, fill in, those gaps.
And the life skills too that we said was good. Who
Yep.
better to do some life skills than dad?
Yep. Absolutely. It looks like I plugged in the plug, but it's not plugged in the wall. So
Great job.
great job. Told you I'm tired.
Yeah, you need to go to bed earlier tonight.
I got one more call after
Let's
this.
do a post about that, going to bed early.
Go to bed at a reasonable hour. Yes. Sorry, y'all, for all this movement. I should have had all these things in
Um,
there. Tanisha's watching. Um, so let's see. They're
this
loving the post-it note idea.
this user is saying everyone at their jobs in the same situation. The kid is doing a TikTok in the background, or a pet is in the room. You are not alone. It's okay. 3 hours is hard, but you are not alone. My employees know it's okay. And
Yeah, it's okay. That's the grace part.
yeah, and employers have to know that this is a sticky kind of situation that a lot of people are in.
Yeah,
Because I even was talking to my sister earlier who has 0 kids, and she said, they have all these different platforms for communication, and pe- people were calling her on all of them.
yeah,
So if somebody wasn't reaching her on her phone, they were calling her through, the IM or Skype on the computer, and then calling her personal phone.
yeah,
She's like, well, I couldn't answer the phone because I was on a conference call.
yeah.
And you end up working longer and longer hours because people will think you're available. So it's just, this thing that we're going through, being at home, with kids, and all our other responsibilities that we have to handle.
Absolutely. Um, so this was the other point, and I think are we at our hour? Ooh, okay. So
Oh, we
we're
went
getting
over.
our hour. But last point I did want to make was we were talking about if you put up the comment that starts with "Thanks for your earlier segment on schedules." Today, I finalized and shared a schedule for the remaining break. I got a little bit of pushback from my three, who range between 6 and 10, when they realized how much discipline was being required of them. But my, how quickly they adjusted. And you and I were talking earlier about that. We were talking about
Mm-hmm.
how the parents may have a different level of or different expectation of discipline than they're having at school, and that parents could be getting pushed back because of that.
Right. And also, not just that, but you have to think about, if you work full time, and your kids go to school outside of the home, most of the time that they have with you is unstructured time.
Yeah.
So they're not used to having a set structure when they're home with mom and dad. They're not used to having when they're home for extended periods of time like this. It feels like a weekend to them. So they don't understand, why can't I not have my phone? Normally I'm at home laying on my bed talking on my phone, making TikTok videos. What do you mean I can't do that right now? So it's a big adjustment period. But I think the earlier that you kind of make a stance with your kids and say, yeah, I know this is different. This is going to be a little hard adjustment, but this is what we need to do in order to accomplish what we need to accomplish during this season. and let them know that it is just a season. This isn't how it's going to be forever. Things will go back to normal, but Monday through Friday, we have to complete some schoolwork. So if you cooperate with me, then you have a higher success rate of you being able to do the TikTok videos this evening or on the weekend as normal. But as much push, if I get more pushback from you, then I'm gonna have to start taking away some of those freedoms that you have, which you aren't going to really like.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just knowing there's an adjustment and emphasizing that it's a season with the kids.
It's a season. Yeah, that's such a good point. Um, hey Sabrina. Um, well, I mean, I love all of the interactions. We're gonna keep doing these lives as we see, you know, people asking questions, so we can come through and help each other. Thank you all for commenting and giving suggestions on, the challenges that folks had this first day. One of the things Derek and I were talking about was having, a marked safe after the first day of
Yes,
staying at
we're
home.
gonna figure out how to do that.
So we're gonna have a marked safe, from schooling at home, because I mean, we're all in this crazy situation, and folks that are trying to manage this for the first time, it's an ordeal. And so, just keep posting your questions, just keep, posting in the group so that you can get the support, and things that you need.
Yeah, keep supporting one another, as you guys have been on individual threads. I love seeing how um, this is becoming a community, a real community of people where they're sharing the different ideas and supporting one another and being just people are leaning on one another through this time. And I think this is exactly what's going to get us through this.
Absolutely. Um, Thank y'all.
All
Day
right,
one.
we're enjoying you guys.
Yes,
So
it's
we
like
will,
it's so much fun. So
yeah.
yes, like you said, community. That's why it's like family. It's like
Yeah.
it's family. And so
Because
because
we
I was
got so much in common. We
yeah,
don't know each other very well, but this is all giving us commonality and bringing us together.
absolutely. So have a great night for the East Coasters. Have a great dinner for the for those who it's 6:40, and all those in between.
All right. Good night.